All right. I can just jump straight into it. Uh, my name is Truls. I work just up in the building next to this. And I'm a security architect slash engineer slash potato. Um, and I work in a security operations center, which is why I'm here talking about security monitoring. If you're not familiar with security monitoring, I will cover a bit of it, but most of the points that I'm making here, they are not like exclusive to security monitoring, but it's just very common in security monitoring to make this kind of mistakes. And it's funny that the last talk was about positive security talk, and now I'm here to talk about people making mistakes. It could have been better arranged, I guess, but it is what it is. So the idea with the talk today is to talk a little bit about security monitoring very briefly, because I only have like 10-15 minutes. So I'll cover what I can. And then we'll move on to anti-patterns, which I'm sure everyone here is way better at than I am. And then we'll look at some specific examples that I see quite commonly at customers. Now, to break it down like really, really simple, what I do is I detect bad stuff and I catch bad actors. Now, if I was to explain security monitoring like this, it seems very simple, but we can break it down a bit further. And basically, anything that runs an operating system, so if it's a router, switch, industrial control system, VM container, whatever, it runs some sort of operating system, it generates signals, events. If we add an identity, user or non-human identity, it generates even more signals, and these are put into logs. People like me will love logs because it tells the story of what happens. So we gather logs religiously because that's what we do. And we send them to something called a SIEM, or a Security Information Event Management System. I just call it a security monitoring solution, but it's like a data lake where we can store the information. Now, there's two reasons for this. One of the reasons is because then we can move the data away from the system, because if a threat actor gets access to the system, we can just delete the logs and they're gone. So now we can keep a track of what happens. And also because you can have 1,000 devices of different types. And this just means that we can actually correlate between them. So when people move laterally through the network, they're attacking web servers, they're attacking through routers, switches, they're getting into VMs and jumping between hosts. We can track them because we can correlate the data from all these different data sources. At some point here, there are some smart people up at the top that I work with, and they say, well, if this and this happens, that's kind of bad. I usually say that if someone from marketing suddenly starts logging in from Russia and starts running PowerShell commands or something else that they've never done before, that's maybe not the best. And so we can take these kind of hypotheses that we have about bad stuff, and we can express them as something called detection queries. These queries, we can run them against our data, and then we can create alerts that we can handle. Because just sitting here looking at the SIEM and looking at the data and just trying to find malicious stuff manually is not going to work very well. But yeah. So this is security monitoring 101. There are some things to think about here. Like, of course, if this is cloud-based, everything is going to cost you money, especially like log volume. There's so many different data sources today. Developers, application logs. I'm not going to go on a tangent about how bad application logs are, but it's not very easy to parse. And then also you have like a lot of different SaaS solutions, PaaS solutions, operating systems, cloud providers, and everyone has their own log format, which makes everything super simple. And then we also need to have quality, because if you write a bad alert and it generates 100 incidents every day, that's not good either, right? So there's a lot of things there. Took a long time to load that slide. So I probably didn't even make it sound easy. I think I was supposed to say something else, but that happens when you get up on stage. You just mess everything up. But it's not easy. There's a lot more that goes into this, but this was just the primer. So to summarize, when you're getting into security monitoring, most people start with, we need visibility. And then they face the budget, and now you're stuck with a little data suddenly. And then they start working on the use cases. What do we need this for? So what is the goal with security monitoring? My best advice here is to say start the other way. Like, what are you trying to discover? What are you trying to protect against? And then work your way backwards into, well, what visibility do I need? What logs do I need to make that happen? Because then you will save money and you will have a security monitoring solution that actually does what you need it to do. But I will get back into some examples later. I'm saying later, there's not a lot of time. So, anti-patterns. Now, developers are way better at anti-patterns than security people. We don't really use them very much in security, but we should. Basically, it's repeated mistakes, misconfigurations, assumptions. I'm not going to say the last thing. I don't know if I'm allowed. But to give you an example of an anti-pattern in real life, and this is frankly quite embarrassing, but I didn't, until like 3 years ago, brush the back of my teeth. This is a true story. I only had one hole ever, but because I was thinking if you brush up top and then you brush in front, you're getting the back as well, right? Same with people who only like use, when they use soap showering, they don't do it on the bottom half for some reason, because they think it just pours down and solves everything. If you're getting like, wow, I should like use it for the entire body, now you're welcome. But anti-patterns like these, they are minor, right? So it's not a big like explosion thing. It's a very minor thing that you keep doing that you think is right. So in security or in like software development, something like designing a system in the cloud the same way you did on-premise is an anti-pattern. So we'll get into that now. One of the most common things I see companies do is to think that just collecting stuff is very good for no purpose at all. So if you can gather all the data, surely you must be able to detect everything that happens in your environment and be totally safe. And that's not the case. There's some things that plays into this, like, you need to adhere to a budget, but this is boring, so we'll talk about something else. Data quality. This is mostly applications. I'm sorry to keep harping on that. And then also external data. A good example is threat intelligence, which is data about previously encountered cyber attacks. Big threat actors are known to have these kind of public feeds. And I see a lot of people, they just, every public feed, the more information, the better. They will ingest them, and then someone will poison the well in one of their feeds. They will feed fake data in, and you will get a lot of false positives to hide the real activity. And then detection is obviously one of them. And this is, when you're collecting data, as I said, you should have an idea about what you want to detect before you start ingesting data. But the most common thing we see is that people in cloud-based monitoring systems, they will collect a lot of data, and then they will use template detections. And templates are a starting point. They're not meant for production. And the worst thing I saw was someone ingesting the same log source 3 times. They were paying, I think, over $100,000 a month extra in log ingestion, and also generating 1,500 to 1,600 alerts every single day. And you can, one analyst can maybe do like 5 if they're like really need to get into it. But you can calculate for yourself how many analysts you would need to get rid of that number of incidents. So 2 things: data should have a purpose. Either if it's detection or if it's compliance, if it's incident response, those are different things. And you should also have a detection strategy. Just making sure I'm not running way over on time. This one is very like specific to security, but overly reliant on network is usually, if you ever met someone, especially on LinkedIn, if you meet someone who only works in firewalls, they will tell you network is the most important thing, and they will tell you that zero trust network something is really good for your security. And it's not totally wrong, but it's kind of wrong at the same time, because the perimeter is in its form the way it used to be is dead. Before you went to work, everything was in a physical location. You had firewalls, you had networks that protected everything. And security monitoring was mostly Active Directory, NetFlow, and firewall. And now, it's everyone is working from Starbucks, Bali, wherever they want. And it's mostly identities that grant you access into the things you want to see. So you need both of them. But to say that the firewall can protect against people using SaaS applications, well, maybe if you're enforcing VPNs everywhere, but it's getting harder and harder to claim that the network can be a solid perimeter in 2025. And not to, threat actors, if they see a thread, they will pull on it. It doesn't matter if it's your network, if it's a SaaS application, if it's a leaked credential somewhere on the darknet, they will pull as hard as they need to get the access they want. And so what we need to do here instead is to balance our approach from multiple sources. We can't only have network, we can't only have identity. It's funny, if you ask Microsoft, they will say identity is the only thing you need. Don't think about network because they sell identity stuff. I'm a Microsoft MVP, I can say that. Don't. Hopefully no one from Microsoft is here. If you ask Cisco or Palo Alto, they will tell you, network, zero trust is very important. But yeah, balanced. This one is very common in security, especially pen testers tend to get this every time a new tool is released, but also very same with, I guess, frameworks in development. You're like, wow, new cool thing. I love it. And then the question becomes, a very good example of this recently has been AI in security work. Do you need it? For our SOC, the answer is pretty clear, no. Really? Yeah, we don't need it. And the reason is because we still have room to grow. So we have a lot of basics that we can still improve on. And putting AI on top of a pile of garbage, I'm not saying we are a pile of garbage, but, it's just going to make it a smart pile of garbage, right? It's not going to make it something like way better. This one has a lot of things to it, but in security, there are some people that treat their security stack as a puzzle piece. And they're saying, we're missing this email tool because we don't have that capability. And so they're shopping tools for capabilities. This is usually companies where you've had a cyber attack and you're starting to, now we need to invest in cybersecurity. And instead of investing in people and processes and doing it the right way, you're buying a lot of tools to cover your missing pieces. And on the other side, people are saying, we have too many tools. We need to consolidate into a single pane of glass. And single pane of glass is the dumbest thing I'm not going to swear. But yeah, it's like an infomercial. It's like, I can't hold all my tools. And you're trying to get it into one portal. Sure, consolidation is good, like having fewer tools, fewer things to look at. But people are missing the point about tools is that if you have the right people, the right processes in place, tools will sort of like make its way into the flow. People will make it known that they're missing something, and they will also tell you that we have a duplicate, like we have overlapping features here. I'm actually doing all right. Nice. So a little summary. Data should have a purpose, because the main issue we see is over ingestion of data that costs a lot of money and you're not using it. We're also seeing a lot of people use templated detections, like you have a medium alarm that says someone is brute forcing you, but you have multi-factor. The password for that user hasn't been leaked, so why do you need to look at that alert? It's not actionable. There's a lot of words there. Zero trust dictates end-to-end security. We need to have security in the entire stack. You can't just put security at the edge. Doesn't work. XDR. A lot of people are trying to sell you XDR these days. It's okay, but obviously one provider can't be the best at everything. So you will compromise on quality to get everything into one platform. Sometimes that's okay, but for some things you might want to shop for some extra things. And just to nail it in that people, process, tools should happen in that order. And it's the same way for data. You should find the purpose for the data before you start ingesting it. Yeah, that's me.